The NFL season kicking off tonight, and looking at the odds to win the championship this season, Vegas favors New England despite Tom Brady missing the first 4 games of the season. The next 3 teams with the best odds are all from the NFC: Arizona, Green Bay, and Seattle. So we have the Super Bowl rematch tonight between the Broncos and the Panthers. But who wins the Super Bowl this time around? My man.
Max Kellerman. I watched Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers offense shrink like a cheap tent in wins and mild wins, for crying out loud, even though the Denver defense wasn't mild. I watched them dab and celebrate throughout the years, throughout last season rather, and then get humbled beyond recognition. I watched them in the Super Bowl look like a shell of their collective selves. And I thought about this all season long, particularly with some of the moves that I saw teams make in the offseason, particularly with what I want to say acquisitions, because Jordy Nelson coming back to Green Bay is not an acquisition, it's a return. I've thought about all of these things, Max Kellerman. I've scoured the NFC, I've scoured the AFC, and I am picking the Carolina Panthers to meet the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. And in that Super Bowl, despite his Tier 2 status, I think that Cam Newton will show up. I think that Kelvin Benjamin will show up. I think that Jonathan Stewart will show up. I think that that Carolina Panthers defense, even with the absence of Josh Norman, will show up. And ultimately, against Tom Brady, who will be on a mission, who will run roughshod over the National Football League after he serves his 4-game suspension, returning for the last 12 games in which he will win a minimum of 10 of those games before propelling the New England Patriots to the Super Bowl. It will be Cam Newton against Tom Brady, and I am picking the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton to capture the Super Bowl championship
at that point,
over the New England Patriots.
At that point, is Cam Newton Tier 1?
Yeah.
Probably.
How many Super Bowls does he have to win before he gets to Tier 1?
I am on the record. I never said that Cam Newton wasn't great. I never said he did not have a great year. I said Tier 1 to me has to have consistency. One good year doesn't do it. That's all I've ever said.
MVP,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I don't care if Cam Newton won the Super Bowl, went 16-0, and all of that stuff.
Yeah, that should matter. You should care about that.
I need more than 1 year.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Now look,
Cam Newton
this is his year.
will win the Super Bowl championship, beating Tom Brady and the New England Patriots.
And Stephen A. will declare him Tier 1.
Right, yeah, eventually. That's great. He does that 3 or 4 more times, he might actually be Tier 1.
Whatever.
It's not a bad pick. You could also pick Green Bay. I mean, there are respectable picks out of the NFC. There will be a Super Bowl rematch, but not last year's Super Bowl, the year before. We agree the Patriots are coming out of the AFC. Brady will be on a mission. If Garoppolo goes 2-2, if he goes 3-1, Brady only has to win 8 games. Maybe they have a bye in the first round. Then the Patriots have to win 1 game to get in the AFC Championship game. Bill Belichick, to me, is the key to the team more than any. Belichick or Brady? It's Belichick. You give him time to prepare. That's why they're so tough in the playoffs, because he has time to prepare for these teams. I like the Patriots and Tom Brady on a mission, as I said, to get out of the AFC. The cliff is coming, but these 4 games of rest for him means maybe it gets pushed back to sometime earlier, middle next year, before Brady falls off the cliff due to age. Patriots out of the AFC. Seattle out of the NFC. I think Seattle's the best team in football. And yes, I'm saying that even though I'm up here all the time talking about offensive line. That's the only area of football that affects every other area, special teams because of field position, time that your defense is on the field. It makes the other secondary worse. It makes your receivers better. Every single thing the offensive line affects. And Seattle does not have a good one. I mean, where there's a weakness, it's on the O-line. But we saw this O-line last year as a weak O-line, and Russell Wilson was able to put up in the second half of the year the best season of anyone in the NFL, including Tom Brady and the MVP Cam Newton. Second half of last year in the regular season, Russell Wilson was the best player in the NFL by the numbers. He was amazing, and that was in spite of the O-line. And you look at Rawls, who, you know, maybe he doesn't play week 1, but you look at what he did as a rookie. Behind that O-line, maybe he wasn't top 10, he was top 15. He was upper half of the league as a rookie. You think he's going to get better or worse in his second year? I think he's going to get better. I think he's quite good. You got the running game. You got a great quarterback. Baldwin, one of the most underrated players in football, is if he's not an elite receiver, he's the next thing to it, but it doesn't always show up because the counting numbers won't be as high as some other guys. The defense is out of control. It's all world. Not only the front seven, obviously the secondary everyone knows about, and you have a great coach. You have all the ingredients with Seattle, and they will be looking for revenge against that Patriots team. They will have special motivation. Russell Wilson's in his prime, and I don't know if it's quiet as kept or not, but Seattle is in the midst of a dynasty. They don't have multiple Super Bowl rings to show for it. But
but then you ain't a dynasty.
Well, no, when you think about what that means in football, they have turned themselves into the Patriots of the NFC. You want to sound smart in any preseason, who do you think is going to get out in the NFC? Seattle. And by the way, more years than not over the last 5 years they have.
Allow me to interject. First of all, you got the Arizona Cardinals to worry about. That's number one. Let's not ignore that. Number two, when we talk about the Seattle Seahawks, think about what we're talking about here. We got Soul, we got Glowinski, we got Britt, we got Jermaine Afidi, I think that's how you pronounce his name, and Jamarcus Webb. You've got all of these guys literally changing positions. There's no consistency. And so it's bad enough that you were subpar last year, but you're coming into 2016 with an offensive line that's in flux because you've got individuals that are switching positions. There's no beast mode in terms of Marshawn Lynch. Rawls can play, and we understand that. I like him a lot. And we saw Russell Wilson literally elevate himself to another level in those last 8 games, primarily due to the fact that he had to. I expect the Legion of Boom to resemble the Legion of Boom. I understand how formidable they're going to be. But my problem with it is this. Number one, Carolina is incredibly physical. They're highly motivated. It's not like they come into this season reigning, defending Super Bowl champions. They came up short. There's a level of motivation that's going to take place there. They don't have an Arizona to contend with in their division, okay? Seattle does. So I expect the Carolina Panthers to actually have a better record than Seattle. That means they'll probably have home field advantage.
Where they whooped up on Seattle this last playoff.
In the first half. Because the second half, Seattle came roaring back and made a game of it. Yeah. But I'm just saying, it's something to be said. Look, they pulled within 7 now. So
right, so at a neutral field, or rather in Seattle, maybe you like Seattle.
But I don't expect it to be in Seattle because I think that Seattle's going to have their work cut out for them, not just with Arizona, but let's not ignore Los Angeles, despite the fact that Jeff Fisher is there coaching. The reality is they might show up once or twice a season, and they might steal a game, okay? So I look at it from that perspective. When you look at the NFC West, how competitive it is compared to the NFC South. Look, New Orleans, Atlanta, Tampa with Jameis Winston, who I expect to ball out this year. We understand that it's going to be a battle in the NFC South, but it's primarily because of nostalgia, you know, rivalries, things of that nature. In the NFC West, they're just legitimate, bona fide competition on an elevated level, and I think that they have a rougher road to the postseason than Carolina.
That's a good point in terms of where they're going to play the game, and if it's evenly matched or close, then Carolina has the advantage. If they play it in Carolina, Arizona's certainly going to be excellent in the regular season. After what I saw from Carson Palmer in the playoffs, I don't trust them to advance in the playoffs, but let's not forget, it's not necessarily going to come down to Seattle and Carolina because of, I don't know if you've heard of him, Aaron Rodgers up in Green Bay, who, unlike Seattle, which really doesn't have the O-line, Aaron Rodgers got that O-line to play behind. He's got his best receiver back. He will also be on a mission. I don't know that it comes down to Carolina and Seattle.
Let me say this to you. I find it, think about what I said. I said I believe Carolina will have a better regular season than Seattle.
Okay.
I also think it's possible Green Bay will have a better season than Seattle because of the division they're in. Jay Cutler, Matthew Stafford, and now Sam Bradford. I mean, please, talk about a cakewalk for Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be that way. My point to you is that I expect the 2 top seeds to be Carolina, Green Bay, which means Carolina wouldn't have to worry about Green Bay until an NFC Championship game, whereas that may not be the case for Seattle, and as a result, they're going to run into a roadblock.
I think you're sleeping on how good Seattle is.
I think Seattle's very good.
You're taking Seattle over the Patriots,
I'm taking Seattle over the Patriots in the Super Bowl. It will be a rematch of Super Bowl 49, not 50. Seattle with revenge.
So you're picking Seattle to win the championship. I'm picking Carolina.
And I'm picking the Cardinals. Bruce Arians' year. I know you're nervous, Carson Palmer had the choke job. I think he redeems himself. Arizona it is. So just 7 months ago, Denver's defense shut down Cam and company to win the Lombardi Trophy. Tonight, defending champs are the underdogs. Carolina is favored by 3. What do you expect from Tier 2 Cam tonight, Stephen A?
He's going to have a rough night. Look, this kid Remmer is still there on the offensive line, and Von Miller had a field day with him. I wrote it down last night. 3 sacks, 5 hurries, 2 forced fumbles. All of them were on Remmer. All of them, okay? The 3 sacks, the 5 hurries, the 2 forced fumbles, all on Remmer, who actually is pretty decent. And it's not like he had a bad year. It's just that Von Miller was an absolute living nightmare. Now, Denver's going to be a little bit different because you don't have Danny Trevathan. You don't have Malik Jackson, who's now in Jacksonville. We get all of that. But the flip side to it, Wolf is still there. This kid, Shane Ray, is still there. Of course, DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller is still there. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I expect Denver's defense to be every bit as stout as we recall them being. You're opening up the new season, Super Bowl championship night. You're celebrating. You're feeling yourself just a little bit, okay? You're going to be hyped. It's on your home turf in the Mile High City, opening the season. I get all of that. The flip side is that I think Denver's offense is going to be so anemic that Carolina is going to have a field day defensively against that offense as well. So it's going to be a defensive battle, and it's going to come down to what you believe. Is Cam Newton the one that's going to get it done for you, or Trevor Siemian? Okay, forgive me. Forgive me for picking Cam Newton on that in that comparison. I'm just not worried.
Greeny's not going to be happy.
Or Antoine.
Greeny, Antoine, and everybody else. We'll get it. Well, please, Antoine, you wouldn't even know Antoine went to Northwestern. He never mentions it. I mean, the guy's a graduate of Northwestern. He's a proud Chicago native.
Reps his city.
And all you ever hear about from Antoine, our producer, is about Chicago. You don't hear about Northwestern, so don't bring up Northwestern now.
Shots fired.
You said Chicago. If you said Chicago, that's be different. We don't want to hear nothing from Antoine now about Northwestern. I've heard about Northwestern from Greeny. I've heard about Northwestern from J.A. Adonde. I heard about Northwestern from Mike Wilbon. I have never heard about Northwestern from Antoine Lewis, so I don't want to hear it now. Okay, forget that. Then we're going to get back to this. Trevor Siemian at Northwestern, please. I mean, come on now. Look, he didn't throw a pass all of last year. And the first regular season pass of your NFL career is going to be against this crew? Really? Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Can't see it. So I expect a defensive battle. I expect it to be tight and hard fought. Okay, Manuel Sanders going to be looking to show that he deserved that $27 million in guarantees that he got. Demaryius Thomas needs to make up for the kind of season he had. C.J. Anderson is glad he's not in Miami, even though I don't know why, because South Beach ain't nothing wrong with that. But he's still in Denver. But in the end, here's what it is. It comes down to Cam Newton versus Trevor Siemian. And when it counts, I'm rolling with the league MVP, Tier 2 and all. I believe that the Carolina Panthers win this game, and I believe that Cam Newton shows up in the clutch and closes the deal.
I mean, you know what it sounds like when you say he's Tier 2, but he's the reigning MVP. He's gonna win the Super Bowl. He just went to the Super Bowl and he's about to beat the reigning champs.
Listen.
I just want to, you know what that sounds like.
I'm not most people. I don't care. Right. I say what I say, and I speak fluent English.
Yes.
I believe he's Tier 2.
Facts have little bearing on your way of thinking.
I've never disputed the facts. What I said is I need them more. I need longevity. I need.
And you predict you're about to get it.
He needs a lengthy resume.
Right. Yes.
And you predict you're about to get it.
I predict.
Okay.
So
he just did it. You need to see more, and you think it's going to happen. Yes. But he's Tier 2.
I'm telling you, when it happens, I'll give him Tier 1.
All right.
I don't understand.
So nice
is this something about the English?
Yes.
Is this something about my English that you have a problem with? I specifically said I'm going to give it to him when he gets
Part of what we're asking when we see tier 1 or Tier 2 is your ability to predict, your thinking about the trajectory of a player's career, your ability to
put your finger in the wind. No, Max. Not when you make it clear. Not when you make it clear. That's what you're doing. Now, listen, you're going to run. Max Kellerman might sit up there and get on the treadmill and say, Stephen A., I bet you $20 I can run 5 miles. Well, damn it, you ain't getting it until you run it 5 miles. Now, I might know you can do it, but until you do it, I'm not giving you the money.
I might make $20 right now.
I'm not going to, there we go. I might make $20. But if you do it, I'm going to give you the money. But not until you do it. I need to see Cam do what Big Ben did.
I'm going to want my money at the end of the season when you say Cam is Tier 1. Okay,
sure,
good.
and I'll give it to you.
As long as I got my money, I'm good.
No, that's all right. We'll see.
You're right. The Panthers are going to win tonight. Now, they're 3-point favorites on the road, which means really 6-point favorites at a neutral site or 9-point favorites, I guess, at home, you would say. Do I have that right? The point is, the odds makers, who are really there just trying to figure out public opinion, you want equal action on both sides of the line, feel like the wisdom of the crowd says the Panthers are a better team. Not just by a little bit, they're better, and I agree with them. I felt that way going into the Super Bowl last year. I was proven wrong on that night because of an exceptional Broncos defense, all-time great. And I just got through talking about the offensive line. Now, it's the most important area of football because it's the only area that affects every other area of the game, including special teams, other defense, everything. But the offensive line equivalent on defense is actually, in my view, the defensive tackles. It's the guys in the middle. Because on defense, that's the one area I see that affects every other area of the game defensively, in the sense that either the quarterback has a pocket or he doesn't. You want your edge rushers to be better, you need to collapse the pocket. You want your secondary to be better, you need to collapse the pocket. The Malik Jackson loss is a big loss because you had a guy who can collapse the pocket. All of a sudden, instead of doing that at a certain level, I think the presumption should be that that level drops off. And that should have a ripple effect on the rest of the Denver defense. You add that to the fact that now Cam has his best receiver back, and he's going to be highly motivated because at the end of that game last year, all he heard was, why don't you jump on that ball? Cam, what happened? Cam, they dared you to sit back in the pocket and beat them through the air, and you couldn't do it. You think the reigning league MVP, who is in his physical prime and could not be more motivated, now has his best receiver back, facing the team that beat him, whose defense just got worse, and whose quarterback play, by the way, you bring up Simeon. Think about this for a second. Just like last year, beginning of the season, I told everyone Peyton Manning's going to fall off a cliff. Just like I'm telling you about Tom Brady over the next 18 months. I'll tell you about another player coming up. You're not going to want to hear it, but this is what age does, and injury, which comes with age. Peyton Manning's going to fall off a cliff. Watch, it's going to happen. And he played so poorly that Brock Osweiler took his job, and he played so poorly in the playoffs that Peyton took it back. And by the time they won the Super Bowl, we all sat back and said, well, they couldn't have had worse quarterback play, but guess what? They now have worse quarterback play. Yep. Their quarterback situation got even worse. I think smart money right now has the Panthers to win this game. So do I, and I think the odds reflect.
Well, I definitely think that as well. But also, when you look at Denver's offense, let's analyze this for a second. You got Trevor Simeon, like you said. He ain't gonna, what do you expect from him? What can you expect from him? Anything. He's playing with house money because anything that he does relatively decent is going to be a good thing. But then we take into account, let's look at a couple of things. C.J. Anderson needs to play better than he did last year. Yeah. And of course, their running game needs to be better. Your wideouts are Stout and Demaryius Thomas, even though he has something to prove, and Emmanuel Sanders. But when you're going up against an elite front seven, you're not going to get success throwing outside the numbers because you're going to need time to pull that off. What do you have in the interior? You got a guy in Heuerman who could potentially be an individual that produces from you for you from that tight end spot. But this is a guy when Ohio State made their national championship run, he was underutilized. They were talking about he was underutilized last year. What you going to do, suddenly utilize him with a rookie? I'm not sure about that, even though it's good for a rookie to have somebody in between the seams that you can throw the ball to, particularly in short yardage situations. So it's about C.J. Anderson, and it's about Heuerman, and it's about finding a third receiver because you can spread things out. If you got three wideouts plus your tight end plus somebody in the backfield, you can do some damage. But we don't know whether or not Denver can do that. You're going to explore and try to find that out against this defense? I don't see it. Carolina should win this game tonight. If they don't, I would be concerned, and I would be concerned about Cam because from a psychological standpoint, even though it's just one game, when you are fresh off the Super Bowl loss that he had, albeit due to the pressure, because I think he was pressured. I wrote this down, too, last night. 19 snaps versus Rema. I already talked about that. You're talking about 29 snaps overall where this guy was just under intense and immense pressure. You've got to protect him, but when you do protect him, because Kelvin Benjamin is there now, you've got more weapons than you did last year. Cam Newton's going to have to step up and produce. If you don't do that psychologically, you've got to wonder how that could potentially mess with him throughout this season.
And there goes your prediction for the Super Bowl, apparently, after week one.
No.
Tisk, tisk.
It's not.
Listen.
Not at all.
One last thing about
because
the rematch.
I'm not predicting they'll lose.
One last thing about the rematch.
Yeah.
really it's unfair to Cam because he's not blocking for himself and all that stuff, although he did so much on the offense last year. It's almost like he, did everything, including block for himself. But they have a very good offensive line. In most respects, in the truest kind of sense of the word of a rematch, the real rematch is between Von Miller and Cam Newton. Because Cam Newton came into that game all world. It was his world, the way the NBA is LeBron James's world. He was taking over. It's all about Cam, the reigning MVP, 46 touchdowns. No one else was close, including Tom Brady. Stormed back second half of the season where Tom Brady looked like a lock for MVP. Halfway through, all of a sudden, oh, my God, Cam Newton has arrived, makes the Super Bowl. It's going to be a coronation. They're going to beat Denver. And then Von Miller was the guy who came out of that game like, look at this. Everyone's saying J.J. Watt's the best defender in the world, but maybe is Von Miller? Look how he played in the biggest game.
We'll see.
Cam, Von Miller, that's the rematch I'm looking for.
I'm so fired up. Unanimous decision here. We're all rolling with Carolina. So you heard from the guys. We want to hear from you at home. What do you think? Hit us up on Twitter. Let us know who wins tonight in the season opener. They finally drew it up. Breeze and the Saints have finally reached an agreement, according to our Ed Werder. The two parties agreed to a 5-year extension containing an automatic void to 2 years, meaning Breeze is contractually committed to the Saints for this season and next only. He has been huge for the Saints since joining the franchise. Before Breeze, New Orleans had only 1 playoff win in 5 10-win seasons in their entire history. But with Breeze, the Saints have 6 playoff wins and a Super Bowl title in 5 10-win seasons. Oh, Max.
Well, come to me.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh.
Come to me.
Well, I want, okay.
No.
Okay.
Hell with that.
You're going to set yourself up. You realize that,
Hell
right?
with that.
So on that note,
with your chin, you know that, right?
Stephen A., did he deserve more?
Absolutely. I'm not satisfied. I mean, listen, let me say this. Let me say this. Congratulations to Drew Brees. I'm happy he's happy. He knows his money better than I know his money.
Yep.
Nothing but love for him, okay? But I'm going to say this. New Orleans Saints, y'all are one lucky organization, not just because of the greatness of Drew Brees, but because of the class of Drew Brees. He's underpaid. He's underpaid. What was the guaranteed dollar? $44 million?
44.
$44 million? Max Kellerman. Let me go down the list, because I have my producer extraordinaire, my research extraordinaire. No, I got to look at this. Hold on, that's right.
Sabino's two-timing me.
Wait a minute.
David Sabino, are you two-timing me?
You know what? You can have him.
From the Boogie Down, like Fat Joe will be with us.
You need him more than me. Here's the deal, man. Let's just look at this here. Joe Flacco, $62 million guaranteed. Matt Ryan, $59 million guaranteed. Matthew Stafford, $41.5 million guaranteed.
He's got a nice arm.
Tony Romo, $55 million guaranteed. Well, Aaron Rodgers, I mean, there's nothing to debate there, okay? Russell Wilson, nothing to debate there. Andrew Luck, $87 million guaranteed. $87 million, okay? All right, okay. Let's look at this here. Alex Smith, $45 million guaranteed. Where's this damn Ryan Tannehill? $45 million guaranteed for Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, Jay Cutler.
Want a sip of water?
No.
Okay.
Jay Cutler.
Just looking out.
Jay Cutler, $54 million guaranteed. Jay Cutler is guaranteed more money than Drew Brees. Now, obviously, Drew Brees had guarantees before. This is the latest, and obviously his situation was up to have his contract revisited, renegotiated. These are guys that are on the books now. Doesn't mean that they won't get an extension this season or sign a new signing bonus. I'm aware of all of that. Those were numbers that are just on the books, but more to come for them as well, and it could potentially be less. But I'm just looking at right now on the books. This is what the word guarantee comes associated with when it mentions those names. The Tony Romos, the Joe Flaccos, the Matt Ryans, the Jay Cutlers, oh my Lord, the Ryan Tannehills. And Drew Brees, 10 consecutive seasons of throwing for more than 4,000 yards. 4 of those times throwing for 5,000 plus yards. And Drew Brees asked for $60 million in guarantee, and you give him 44? To me, Drew Brees deserved at least 55, if not the whole $60 million in guaranteed dollars. I think they're at least $11 million short. As far as I'm concerned, he deserved more. They're lucky he gave them a hometown discount, looking out for this organization, being class personified, because that's who he is. Drew Brees deserved more money, and as far as I'm concerned, he's underpaid. He's underpaid.
Why is it unsurprising to me that you're wrong about this? Seems to be a pattern on this show.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm waiting for it to be a pattern.
What is the guarantee really about? It's about how far you can. Well, let's back up for a second. Every time you see
Stop talking to the kids.
Someone, I need to teach them something.
Stop talking to the kids.
You're leading them. He's leading you astray. I'll talk to you. Every time you see a player renegotiate his contract, what that restructuring is about, it only happens when it's beneficial to both parties, the team and the player. It gives the team cap relief because they get to spread out money over more years. It gives the player more money up front. Now, it's good for both parties in this case. But who won the negotiation, if you want to look at it that way? Obviously, the Saints won the negotiation. And the reason they won in this case is because their position was correct. They basically are telling Drew Brees, who's going to be 38 years old these playoffs, which the Saints likely will not be a part of. They're telling him, look, as Max Kellerman's been saying on TV to Stephen A. Smith every day, no quarterback who ever lived has ever been an elite quarterback at age 41. We will pay you through age 40. That's it. That's what this was really about. And they were right about that. What all those quarterbacks you named had in common, except for Tony Romo, is none of them will be 38 years old anytime soon. And Romo didn't just redo his deal. Believe me, if Romo was up for a contract renegotiation right now,
well, that's why I
get more money.
That's why I acknowledge that that's something that you might have signed a couple of years ago. I was just reading the numbers that was on the books because I'm fully aware that Tony Romo wouldn't get that number now. But you have
those other guys are in their 20s.
You have to understand. I'm one who believes Tony Romo never deserved it in the first place.
Right.
I'm one who never believed that Matt Ryan deserved it in the first place. I'm one who never believed Jay Cutler. I think he should be banned from Chicago. I mean, this dude is just stealing money. He should be arrested for theft every time I think about him being a quarterback.
Now,
for the
that's
Chicago
not fair.
Bears.
Cutler is a fine quarterback unless it's the NFC Championship game, then he quits. But otherwise, he's an excellent quarterback.
You realize how you sound? I mean, oh, my Lord. I'm trying to, you sound like, you know, what is it, Rhea Shriver? What's the guy's name that does? That's right, that does the, you know, the 24/7, all of this. You sounded like him. No, I think that's unfair to Jay Cutler. Really?
Yes.
Jay Cutler?
He always gives it all unless it's the NFC Championship game. Let's get back to being serious for a second. To give Drew Brees, like, you're acting like all these quarterbacks got paid. Drew Brees never got paid. He's been paid. He was paid when he was a younger man.
And I'm saying he still deserves to be paid.
And he's getting paid for 2 more years. You think he'll be good forever?
I think that he deserved the $60 million that he was seeking. That's my point. I've never debated the years with you because that's a different.
But that's what the guaranteed money's based on is the years.
You're talking about what makes sense. There's no disputing that in terms of the years.
Of course, there's no disputing what makes sense when I'm talking.
Well, listen, I tried to tell you that yesterday. You're just deaf when you want to be deaf. Huh? But what I'm trying to say to you is this. I'm talking about the $60 million. I was arguing the point that Drew Brees is worth $60 million in guaranteed dollars right now. You were making the argument that he wasn't because he's going to be over the age of 40.
Right.
We understand how complicated things can get because of the cap and things of that nature. Right. Nobody's ignorant up here. We're simply saying that $60 million.
So you think he deserves 38?
I think Drew Brees, what I'm saying to you is this. If you want to sit up there and say he can't get the money because of the salary cap, I understand that. You were saying he doesn't deserve it because he's old and he's not going to produce past the age of 40.
That's the same thing.
No, it's not. Because I'm saying to you right now in his sleep, Drew Brees is worth that $60 million. That's all I'm saying.
But you can't not divide by the number of years. Look, the whole thing about these bonuses and how they're structured started with Jerry Jones, who helped push the salary cap through. As soon as the salary cap got through, he signs Deion Sanders. Everyone said, how can you do that? You can't afford it under the cap. He said, no, look, I'm prorating the bonus over this many years. So the length of the contract makes a difference.
Max Capologist Kellerman, we understand that. I am simply saying to you, I was making the argument that in a culture that we're living in, with the money that these quarterbacks are getting, don't you sit up here and say to me, that man with his production, with that talent, ain't worth $60 million. Tell me, Stephen, He's worth it, but you can't do it because they're strapped. Don't tell me his talent
let me phrase it
isn't worth
Steven, he's worth it, especially under perfect ideal throwing conditions where he plays and he can throw 7 touchdowns in a game. I've seen him do it against my Giants. He's amazing, all that. And he can do it for 2 more years. And therefore, you can't give him $60 million because that's like paying him for 3 more years.
But you were saying, Max, that he wouldn't produce after 2 more years because he'd fall off a cliff.
Yes.
I was making the argument, no. Just like I said, Brady, no.
Both. So, wait, let me get this straight.
They're both going to produce in 3 years.
And then the next guy's all, so it's like the 4-minute mile. No one's done it until everyone does
3 years from now, both of them will be big time.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Oh, you angry
I got some bad news for you coming up later in the show.
Both of them.
Oh, Lord. Up next, one of the hottest names in music is here. We are so excited. Rapper Fat Joe, he's going to join us at the desk in freestyle right here in studio. How about that? Don't go anywhere.
Got to flow, Joe.
You should.
It's gone and we still doing LeBron numbers. First take in the dawns on it. Bag alert. Goyard on the duffel. So much beige up on the plate. Brothers think I'm saving truffle, huh? Spike Lee be calling me. First take, what's good, y'all? Joe cracked the dawn.
Yes, Fat Joe, everybody in the house. Thank
What's
you
up, bro?
so much for being here.
We here, man. What's good,
Yes.
man? What's good?
You're not going to be able to call yourself Fat Joe for much longer, Joe.
Yeah, man. You know,
Lean Joe.
I'm trying, man.
Looking good.
I'm trying. What's up, y'all?
So excited to have you here. Been a staple in the rap game for 20 years, and you got your new hit track all the way up. We love it here.
We cooking now. We cooking.
No question.
Oh, man, we cooking. What's up, y'all?
I couldn't wait to see you today because I know, you know, football is one thing, but you're a New Yorker, and it's about basketball and baseball with you. And I had to, you know, I was disgusted, to be quite honest with you, with what I'm about to bring up, because I really didn't want to bring this up, but I have no choice.
It doesn't
I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to talk to you about real stuff, like the Yankees and the way they've been balling. How the Mets are still in the picture, and the Knicks. And then I got the news that the New York Mets are having a press conference today because they are about to sign Tim Tebow to a minor league contract. Talk to me, because I'm trying to be cool, but talk to me, Joe.
Maybe that's like a spiritual essence or something. Maybe it's like as a chapel leader or something. I don't know. Maybe it's like as a godly thing. So I would think so. As an All-American,
29 years old.
What is it to get ticket sales?
Well, I'm a cynic, so I look at what is the top place that Tebow is going to stop in minor league baseball? Probably high A ball, right? Like double A ball, they got real prospects there. And where are the Mets A ball affiliates? A ball and high A ball, Florida and South Carolina. So Tebow plays there. He sells tickets there. That's all I could come up with.
That's it. That's it. I mean, you know, he's a beautiful story. He's a beautiful person. I love him as a person.
So do I.
I mean, I don't know. Like, where's the angle? The angle could be, I guess he's going to become the Chapman of the Mets.
See, for me,
I swear to God, I think this is the only angle I can do. I mean, everybody got to play their part.
For me, here's where it resonates with me. You know, Puerto Rican, Cuban descent, combination of both with you. Black man, this dude's from the city. I'm looking at Tim Tebow, and I'm thinking, nothing but love for him, nice dude. 29 years of age, ain't played baseball since high school. Talk about privilege. How many people would get that kind of opportunity that he's getting right now? That's the part that bothers me about this. It don't bother none of y'all.
But who would turn it down if you had?
I'm not blaming him. I'm not talking about Tim Tebow. He's the subject.
You're talking about the kids that are really trying.
The kids that are on their grind, that's out there.
Yeah,
they sent 46 scouts from 28 different teams to come watch this man. Who gets that?
No, that's definitely a viewpoint that we might be overlooking. You're good with that viewpoint. My thing is, in the Game of Thrones, there's always a person, you know, just an orator. There's a person. They might as well just say, listen, this is our church guy. Let's bring them with the Mets to pray for us at the beginning of every game. That's it. There's nothing else they can.
The Mets could usually use someone to pray for them, by the way.
Of course they do. I don't know what else. I mean, he's a great guy, but I mean, why even waste our time with this?
How about the fact that now he has professional contracts in football with the New York Jets, once upon a time, and now with the New York Mets? You would think Tim Tebow plays in the Bible Belt, and yet New York, two different destination New York,
big market,
or at least franchise in two different sports.
Well, we love a beautiful story like this, man. He's like a Rocky, man. This guy, I mean, you can't front on him, man.
Stephen A's like,
this guy, Stephen A., this guy's a pretty amazing person,
man. Yeah, he's got star qualities.
No, man, this guy's like amazing story. Like, you follow him, he's almost like a Jeremy Lin. I mean, he didn't do, listen. He didn't accomplish what Jeremy Lin has accomplished, but, you know, just the fairy tale of Tim Tebow is big, man, in America.
What do you have to against people feeling good?
Hold on. What has happened? what has happened to my New Yorkers? My man Jay, he get a little bit more. That's right. I get on Jay sometimes too. He get a little bit emotional. Jay-Z get on attitude and stuff like that when you don't agree with him. Talk about somebody that argue. You know what I'm saying? That dude is a nightmare. I hate getting emails from Jay. I just can't take it. But I'm looking at New Yorkers and I'm like, what has happened to y'all? What's all of this feel good, the sentimental stuff? I mean, what has happened to my city, New York City?
No.
What has? It's a beautiful story.
He's a good feeling.
Beautiful story.
He's a good feel guy.
Since when have New Yorkers cared
feel
about
good.
that?
Yeah,
really?
right.
What's happened, Joe? What's happened to us?
We gone soft, man. I don't know.
Thank you. Right, that's what I'm trying to say. See, that's where I was going.
New York's a different town than it used to be.
We've gone soft. New York is a different town than it used to be.
I was in L.A. for 5 years. I came back. It's a little different.
Crime is down.
That's right. That's all I'm saying. Crime is down, but we've got
a little richier.
We got a little
Crime is down.
While I got you here, Carmelo Anthony made news. Third Olympic champion, third Olympic gold medal.
I'm going to make breaking news now.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
In all the years I know Carmelo Anthony, since he's been in high school, and I hope he doesn't beat me up, I've never once in my life received a phone call. I got a phone call from Carmelo Anthony, and he said, if there's any year ever in your life to be a New York Knicks fan, is this one. And go hard. And I said, Melo, what are you saying? He called me from Brazil.
Hold on.
He said, I promise you.
to ask you when. When did he make this call?
He was in Brazil. And he said, I promise you, this is going to be an incredible year for the Knicks.
Hold on.
Love it.
I need some
you need a tissue? It's beautiful.
No, I'm telling you, Steve. This is breaking news.
I'm giving it to you. Let me tell you where I'm going. We know I sat up here, and I said, Joe, I appreciate the gold medals. I really do. I'm happy for you, because I love Melo. Good people, good brother, all right? But I'll be damned as a New Yorker, we want to hear that stuff about the gold medal. We want the chip. And we need you to go at LeBron. If you're going to lose.
Chip is a different thing,
I know that. It's not just him. It's not just him. But if you're going to go at LeBron, I mean, if anybody could give it to LeBron, it's him. So I'm like, I'm telling now, I want to hear about the gold medals. I want the chip. So I love what you just told me. This is emotional for me because this is the point.
I got bad news for you if you're waiting on a chip.
No. Bad news for Chip.
I know.
Bad news for everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
That Golden State, they're going to break every rule we ever seen, every record we ever seen in history. That Golden State team, the way they throw that ball around and they unselfish, it's going to be very scary.
I'm not liking what you're saying.
Only Cleveland
never
got a
seen
shot.
nothing.
I'm not liking what you're saying right now.
I promise you.
You know what? You might be right.
Nobody's going to stop
But you
them.
seem happy about it.
No, I'm not happy about it. In a strange way.
Yeah. You want to see it, right?
You like
You want to
see it?
No. In a strange way, I'm glad I'm alive
This
to
is what
see
I'm
this
saying.
cheating. It's a cheat. It's a cheese. But what I'm saying to you is, in a strange way, I'm glad I'm alive to see the cheating.
It's like the 98 Yankees.
We never thought.
Or the 85 Bears.
It's too much cheating. It's too much cheating.
What is?
But in a strange way, I'm curious to see what's going to go on. Like, how many records could these people break?
Well, how about the fact that for the first time in how long we have a rubber match in the finals, most likely between Cleveland and Golden State? We know that going in.
Nobody in the world, and I don't want New York to kill me, right, with what I'm going to say. But the only play Cleveland could ever make is finding a way to get Carmelo to Cleveland to compete with Golden State, because there's just no way.
I actually agree with that.
There's no way.
I actually agree with that.
There is no way on earth no one can compete with the Golden State Warriors. They got Kevin Durant.
Now, hold on.
They was already a
Hold on,
cheese.
Joe. Hold on, Joe.
Come on,
Joe,
bro.
Here's my issue.
Jumper too
Hold on,
little for KD.
Let me get back to you. Let me get with you on this.
And I also think it's going to be more Kevin Durant dunks than I ever seen in history this year.
Hold on, wait a minute. What I don't like about what you're saying is that you seem happy about it. And let me get
No, I'm not happy.
Hold on.
He just wants to see. He just wants to see something incredible.
This is my life.
Point. When I look at Golden State, I love competition, bro.
Yeah.
And they have stripped the suspense of competition until June because only Cleveland can mess with them. And then even when you look at Cleveland, unless Kevin Love, and listen, I'm a fan of Kevin Love.
We don't believe you. You need more people.
Kevin Love is solid. Kevin Love is good. He's no scrub, but the bottom line is he ain't that dude. And when you talk about if LeBron got Melo, if LeBron got Melo, Carmelo Anthony, with LeBron and Kyrie, oh my! Now that you will see me, I would sacrifice.
Now you might.
I would say, all right, forget the Knicks right now. Forget the Knicks right now. And I'm a native New Yorker. I would say, forget the Knicks right now. Oh, my goodness.
See what you just exposed. I'm so glad you're on this show.
What?
This whole time you're complaining the Golden State ruined everything, and I'm arguing this is amazing because we get to see Clash of the Titans. Really, your issue is not that it's Clash of the Titans. You think that Cleveland needs to be better to compete. But if they were better, then you'd want to see it, wouldn't you?
No. Cleveland lost Delavan Dover.
Oh, who cares?
No, who cares? Little scrapper.
Don't you make
Stop. He's a vital point. They lost Mazdov. They lost a lot of people. They lost some serious. Nah, I can't do it. Love your jury.
Hold on. 40-40. Me, you, Juan, Jay, Kaz, the whole crew. We got to get together because the stuff that you're saying is blasphemous. I mean, I can't believe the stuff coming out of your mouth. We got to have a basketball conversation. I don't even understand what's going on with y'all right now.
No. They done. What I'm saying to you is that Cleveland took some major L's after this chip right here. Kyrie is, I'm starting to think Kyrie Irving is like a UFO, like an alien. No, he's the best. He's the best.
Okay.
Nobody can mess with him. I'm not losing you. Kyrie's the best. He'll break anybody down. He's the best, and they got LeBron too. What I'm saying to you is they need that third piece. That even if Wade would have went over there, they would have had a fight. If Wade would have went over there, it'd have been a real good
Phil
fight
messed
over
up because Wade should have been in New York with Melo instead of Courtney Lee.
Someone who could shoot.
That's what should have happened.
They need someone.
They could have had Wade.
And it could have
Yes, they could have.
They didn't have the cap space.
They could have. He gave
the
4 years, 50
how many
million.
guys you want on the same team who all need the ball? Courtney Lee is perfect. He defends the best perimeter player on the other team.
You clearly
He
don't know
shoots for
Dwayne
three.
Wade. You clearly don't know Dwayne Wade.
I wish we had all day
Well, he
with
shoots
you.
for three.
But
Dwayne doesn't shoot for
Before
three.
we let
Also,
you
I'm
go.
out of here already.
But tell us about the new music.
Oh, well, we got the new single cooking, the best rap video in 15 years. Shot it in Dubai. We got the whole Dubai chasing us.
That's sick.
We stole a girl from the harem. You know, me and Remy Ma, French Montana, we got them chasing us, flying camels, all type of things. Y'all got to go on YouTube, go see Cooking, the new video, all the way up, double platinum. I mean, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. We got to talk about Dubai after, though.
We here, man.
You know the golden rule. Those who have the gold make the rules.
Hey, you're stupid.
And then celebrates when he does something good.
Come on.
I was being glib,
Ow.
but this guy's special.
Come on.
And then comes the cliff.
I barely understood what the hell you were saying.
I thought the golden rule was do unto others as you want others to do unto you, but Stephen A's is a little different. Tomorrow, a huge day for us here on First Take. Our very own Stephen A has a huge announcement. You excited?
Yes, I am.
I'm excited.
I'm actually very excited. I mean, I thought about this a little over a month ago. Tomorrow, I will be making an announcement. It's a huge announcement as it pertains to this show, First Take. And when I do, all I'm going to say, the only hint that I'm going to provide is this. So many people have wanted to get at me. Be careful what you wish for. I'll leave it at that.
It could be their chance. Mark
Do you
Schlereth
guys
in
know?
the house.
Do you guys know what this big announcement is? Do you guys,
I know.
You're privy
This is
to it?
good.
Yeah, it's
this
really
is good. Yeah. If someone pays me enough money, I might break the news early.
I wrote it up, divvied it up the whole bit. I've been thinking about it.
kidding.
I'm excited about it. This is good. I'm excited.
That's right.
Good.
That's
I
right.
can't wait.
Brainchild
really
of
good.
Stephen A. Smith. And for
It's
the
really
first
good.
time since I joined the show, he's not wrong about something.
Almost as good as you on Ballers. A little actor. Two actors
Yes.
over here. Well, Max, too, actually. I'm the only
Sure.
All right, let's get into it, gentlemen. A little football. A lot of pressure will be on AP this season with his quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater, sidelined with an ACL. So Peterson led the NFL in rushing last season, but had some interesting comments about his future. Here's what he had to say. I feel I can play until I'm just ready to hang it up. Honestly, who knows? That might be 5 more years. That might be 7. That might be 2. Who knows? I figure it all depends on how passionate I am and the love that I have for the game. I'm getting older now. My kids are getting older and things like that. I'm missing out on a lot. I don't know. Only time will tell. Mark Schlereth, we know running backs have a short shelf life, but this is AP. How much time do you think he has left?
Oh, I think he could play for another couple of seasons, 2 or 3, and be, you know, still a very top level running back. You know, there are certain guys that are just genetic freaks, right? They just, I mean, they won the genetic lottery.
Yeah.
And he is one of those guys that simply won the genetic lottery. The guy is an absolute freak show. And when you have that kind of ability, coupled with a passion and a love for the game that he has, clearly, you can essentially play as long as you want to play. He's had the ACL, the major injury, came back. Shoot, it felt like it was 4 weeks and he was back ready to play. The guy's a freak show. He can play pretty much as long as he wants. I would assume he'll play another 2 to 3 years at a very high level.
He is a freak.
Right.
And, in fact, he's a bad example for other athletes. You think, well, he gives them hope because he came back from the ACL the way he did. Now, all these guys think, oh, I have an ACL, I can go back to being myself. No. That was Adrian Peterson, who I agree, by the way, it's AP, not AD. Adrian Peterson
It's
is
both,
AP.
right? All day.
You heard
and
what
it's-
Schlereth had to say. What's your response?
So, he is a freak. And he had time off because of the suspension, so he's rested.
And
And
answer the
he's
question.
still in the conversation at age 31
Answer the question.
for best running back in the game. But take a good look at Adrian Peterson this year. Watch him right now because he could play several more years. But this will be the last year where you can see Adrian Peterson and say he might be the best running back in the game. This is it. There hasn't been a running back age 32 to continue to perform at an elite level who's going to be a Hall of Famer since really Walter Payton. 1,200 plus yards, at least 75 yards a game on average, better than 4 yards a carry, all that stuff. You could say Riggins, but Riggins is a very different kind of back. Walter Payton did it, but even when Payton did it at age 32, his yards per carry went 4.8 the year before, 4.2. And his career average was 4.4. So already, even though he was more or less there, he was a little under, and then that was it. There is a cliff that players hit for quarterbacks. It's 40.5. No one's ever been the same after that. They fall off the cliff. Peyton Manning, it's going to happen to Brady. I know we argue about that. Wideouts, it's a different age. Running backs, it's usually 30. But Adrian Peterson is so different. He's so special that he can push that. He's on a run-heavy offense. All anyone ever talks about is the Vikings are just going to run. It's not even like, well, he's going to see spot duty here, so he'll be okay. He'll extend it. Will he still be good after this season? Of course. But will he be Adrian Peterson, arguably still best running back in the game? Mimi?
Well, let me say this to you. The other day, I got on Cam Newton about tap dancing better than Fred Astaire, MC Hammer, and Michael Jackson combined. Maybe I should have said that about Max Kellerman. I mean, you can sit up there and dance all you want to about Adrian Peterson. He'll be Adrian Peterson this year, but then after that,
that's not tap dancing. That's going toe-to-toe.
I don't think it's going toe-to-toe because you're conceding that he's going to look great this year. And then did you define exactly what level of dissipation would take place in this game? I'm not so sure. When I think about their left guard, I think about Boone being added. I think about their right tackle, Andre Smith, being added. I think about the pieces that they have in place. The offensive line, if it stays together, correct me if I'm wrong, Schlereth, should be pretty damn good. You combine that with a guy in Sam Bradford who has the capability of throwing a deep board. So whether it's Stephon Diggs, whether it's Laquan Treadwell, with the Kyle Rudolph, you should have some more of a passing game. You may not need to run as much as you did last year with Teddy Bridgewater behind center. Even if you do, wait a minute, I said need. I didn't say they would or wouldn't. I'm saying you have that choice because you have a decent offensive line with a passing game that's capable of hurting you because you don't have a relatively pedestrian quarterback like like a Teddy Bridgewater. You combine that with that defense. I think you look at it and you look at the fact that in 2014, Adrian Peterson only played one game due to the whole suspension and everything else. So that's a year that doesn't even count on his resume. He's really like 29 approaching 30 as opposed to 31 approaching 32 in terms of his body and the mileage and the physicality that has been opposed against him.
I think one thing that gets left aside here is the last 2 years, Teddy Bridgewater has only thrown 14 touchdown passes.
That's right.
And last year, 14 touchdown passes, I believe 9 interceptions. They don't predicate themselves on just running the ball. They play stellar defense. They're not afraid to lose or to win very tight games. I think they won 11 last year. And on top of that, I never forget this story from our good friend Darren Woodson, who was playing with the Cowboys and said that Adrian Peterson walked into the Cowboys locker room as a high school player. And Darren Woodson was like, that dude could start for us right now. That's what kind of physical freak show
he's different.
He is. He's a different dude. So, I look at the Walter Paytons of the world, and of course your skill set as you get older is going to dissipate to some degree, but you're still
not
going to
that
play.
quick.
No,
Hold on. Already.
This season,
that's it.
He's saying this season, Adrian Peterson is going to be Adrian Peterson.
Right.
But after that,
Not
we
Adrian
won't
Peterson
recognize
anymore.
this Adrian Peterson.
Right.
And I'm like, at least three more years. Three.
Three more years.
I think 3 more years.
I think he'll
Adrian
be
Peterson could
two more years elite, and then he'll still be a good player if he continues to play.
I mean, let's
on
face it, already, a couple of years ago, there was no dispute Adrian Peterson's the best running back in the game. Already, that's much in dispute. If Le'Veon Bell's on the field, even this year, you look at a guy like Todd Gurley. Even if Adrian Peterson continues as he's been going, I wouldn't argue he's the best right now. A couple of years ago, I wouldn't have argued against it. So already, is he quite what he was? And now at age 31, and by the way, of course, defense, right? But usually those run-heavy teams rely on ball control, have good defenses. He's still going to be touching the ball a lot, carrying the ball a lot, getting hit a lot at his age.
I think Adrian Peterson can end up accumulating 5,000 more yards in his career. I think he could pull it off. That's number one. Number two, I think about it from this perspective. Again, with that defense, the parts around him, and Adrian Peterson doesn't get enough credit for this. I don't consider him the fastest dude in the world. He's fast, but this dude, his ability to see holes, hit holes, break tackles, the combination of all that encompasses a great running back. He's not missing any of it. Mental toughness.
Right.
I'm just like, look, all of that combined with the Vikings and how they look right now, I like it. I like the possibility of him accumulating 5,000 more yards before he.
Yeah, but you can accumulate counting numbers on a certain level. That doesn't mean you're elite anymore. Like
no, I'm saying he's going to be elite. To me, he's going to be elite for 3 more years.
This is the year. Last year.
I think at least 2 more years of elite level status, and still, I mean, what you lose in physicality or physical ability, you make up with as you get older with intelligence. And we see it in the boxing world all the time. We see guys make those transitions.
I'm just curious, were you insinuating earlier that Sam Bradford's better than Teddy Bridgewater? Because that hasn't been the case the last couple of years. And Bridgewater's ascending.
It hasn't been the case. I think he's more of a threat in terms of spreading the field, the ability to throw deep from the pocket, and as a result of that, that's going to open things up for the passing game, which is going to free Adrian Peterson up to do more damage. That's what I'm saying.
Got to leave it there. Mark, you know a little something about the Denver Broncos?
I do.
You do. Stay put, please. The Broncos defense completely shut down Cam and the Panthers in Super Bowl 50. But tonight, Denver open up the season at home underdogs. Bless you. So what chance do the Broncos have tonight? Mark Schlereth will offer his opinion. Can't wait for that. Next.
On the Hook is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. You're watching First Take, presented by Bass Pro Shops.
Football is back, and we have a rematch of Super Bowl 50 from Mile High. Denver is the defending champ, but Carolina favored by 3 on the road tonight. We also get our first look at Trevor Siemian as the Broncos' new starting quarterback. We asked you guys earlier in the show, who wins the opener tonight? The results are in. 71% are saying the Panthers. Mark Schlereth is still here with us. Mark, the people are rolling with Carolina. Are you giving Denver a shot tonight?
Absolutely. Gary Kubiak, coaching for the Denver Broncos, is 5-1. As an underdog. And this is a team that plays with a legitimate chip on their shoulder. I called them on Mike and Mike this morning habitual line steppers on defense. They're going to have 3 personal fouls because they play over the edge. They constantly do. And they play with this chip on their shoulder like, we won a world championship with quarterback play that resulted in 23 picks. We don't need great quarterback play. We'll play outstanding special teams, and we will create turnovers as a defense. And you look at the last 2 times they've faced the Carolina Panthers, they have created 13 total sacks on Cam Newton, countless numbers of pressures. He's thrown 2 touchdowns versus 3 interceptions. He's had the fumbles in the Super Bowl. They have dominated, absolutely dominated those games defensively. And I don't see anything in my mind that changes that right now for this defense.
What about the fact that they don't have Malik Jackson? They don't have that pressure in the middle that they had, maybe to the extent where they could collapse the pocket and help the rest of that defense perform on the level they've been performing?
Well, I will tell you this. Going back and looking at that Super Bowl, if they don't keep extra offensive players, be it tight ends or running backs, in to protect the edge, Michael Remmers got absolutely ramshackled against Von Miller. Both edges got destroyed. Now, Malik Jackson's a great football player. His presence was more about the running game in my mind than it was about his ability to rush the passer. But still, they're going to have to, as a coaching staff, do a much better job of finding a way to protect Cam Newton and saying, listen, if it takes running 3-man routes or 2-man routes and keeping 7 men in or 8 men in, that's what we're going to have to do. So they have got to make a mental shift in the way they protect the edges, the way they protect against this Denver Broncos defense. Because if they go out and do the same thing they've done the last couple times they played, they're going to get beat down again.
Well, I agree with you there. I just don't think they'll do that. I'm struggling to figure out how Denver is going to win this game if they can't really score. You trying to tell me that Trevor Siemian, you have the confidence in him that he's going to be able to go against this Carolina defense? I get Kubiak. I get who he is and how he likes to do things. You look at Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders. Outside the numbers, we know what kind of damage that they can do. I'm wondering about your tight end spot. I'm wondering about C.J. Anderson. I'm wondering about what I consider to be a rookie quarterback. I know he was drafted, in the 7th round, but he didn't throw an NFL pass last year. So your first order of business, your first real day on the job, you're going up against the defending NFC champions who are very, very big, very, very physical, with an elite front 7, and you're telling me you think Denver's got a really, really good chance of winning this game?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, defensively, what they've been able to do to Cam Newton in this offense, that's one feather in their cap. And then I look at them offensively, run the football, create some play action. Trevor Siemian is not going to be a high-volume passer. If he is a high-volume passer, if he has to throw over 25, 26 times, then I think they end up losing this game. But I just don't believe that that's the formula in Denver right now. We're going to see. You know, the great thing about playing in the NFL is you never know until you get the opportunity. You never know. I'll never forget the first game I ever played was with the Washington Redskins against the Philadelphia Eagles in the old vet, the #1 defense in all of football. And I am as nervous as I could possibly be. I mean, I am scared to death. And Doug Williams walks down, the starting quarterback, walks down the bus as we're getting ready to go. He walks right past me, stops, turns around, comes back, taps me on the shoulder. And he said, the only difference between you and them is they got an opportunity and they made a name for themselves. And goes, and today, you know what? You're going to go out there, you're going to have that opportunity, and you're going to make a name for yourself today. I have nothing but the utmost confidence in you. And I can't tell you, I was still scared to death, but I can't tell you what that did for me as a player to have that vote of confidence from my starting quarterback coming down that bus. And this is what sets players apart. We see first-round draft choices all the time coming to this league and are complete and total busts. And then we see 7th-rounders get an opportunity in this league and are great players. And that's the difference. I don't know what he's going to be, Stephen A. I don't. Till I watch him, till I see how he responds to a turnover or to a bad play. If he wilts like a flower in the summer heat, then we're in trouble. But if that guy stands up and, wipes it off and keeps going, then, you have an opportunity to be good.
What that story tells me is good to have veteran leadership at the quarterback position, which Carolina has.
Only you could twist that.
It's not only him. I feel the same way.
What about the fact that now Cam's got his best receiver back in terms of dealing with the Broncos? He didn't have Benjamin last year. He has him now. Doesn't that make any kind of a difference?
Well, obviously, it's always a confidence thing to be able to throw that up 50-50 balls and think that your guy guy's going to come away with it. That's great. But it doesn't change the philosophy of the Denver Broncos. You watch them play on a consistent basis. They did it to New England. They did it to Pittsburgh. They did it, to Carolina in the Super Bowl last year. They're going to line up in man-to-man, bump and run, press you off the line of scrimmage, and try to physically beat you up so their pass rush can get there. He is not an elite-level quickness guy. He's a big-bodied guy that fronts guys up. He's a good receiver. But he's not an elite level, let me get open in 1.8 seconds so you can throw me the ball. That's not his game either. So I don't know that that's that big a difference maker. The 50-50 ball, I'll give you. The red zone ball, I'll give you. But I don't know that it all of a sudden goes, oh, that's the reason they win, and they'd have won the Super Bowl last year if Calvin Benjamin would have been there. Absolutely not. I don't buy that.
Yeah,
You picking the Broncos tonight?
Absolutely, I'm picking the Broncos.
Oh, of course he is.
Right?
Of course,
You'll be around tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be around tomorrow.
We'll find you tomorrow.
You know what? I'll come in my Simeon jersey.
You will.
I don't have a
I was getting ready to say I might hold you to that, but I didn't know they were selling those yet.
Yeah. Unless Greenberg got you one. He made one at home.
Right, exactly.
Mark, thank you so much for being with us. Hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Coming up.
Welcome back to First Take, presented by Bass Pro Shops.
You follow what the rule book says, and you go about your business and your work, and if they tell you not to do it, and then you get busted, and what happens, then you suffer the consequences.
That was Carson Palmer commenting on what he thought of the 4-game suspension for Tom Brady. Says if you get busted, you suffer the consequences. Was that smart of him to say, Stephen A?
Well, I don't think it was smart. And I don't think it was smart because at this stage and point in Tom Brady's career, with what he has accomplished, what he has meant to the NFL, you don't want to tug on Superman's cape, particularly if you're the member of a team where, the Arizona Cardinals are very, very good, but you really, really stunk up the joint the last time we saw you, which is Carson Palmer. We sit up there and say, hell, maybe you should deflate footballs. Maybe you should deflate footballs excessively. Maybe you should sit up there and mingle with some of those equipment managers and others to make sure they deflate the footballs for you the way you had that choke job that you had, Carson Palmer. I say all of that to say what he said wasn't wrong. You do the crime, you do the time. And I've been on Tom Brady for the longest time. Look, man, you should have, Max, just so you know, this is what I want to let you know about what I had to say. Before you got on the show, I kept religiously saying, if I'm Tom Brady, I got the supermodel wife, I look GQ, I'm the face of the NFL. Roger Goodell, how you doing? How's everything going? Can we get out? Can we go to dinner? Let me and Giselle take you and the wife out. Just rap. And then after that, you and the commissioner go out on the patio. Look, I wanted them to deflate the footballs. I did not know they would do it to the illegal limit. I just like the footballs deflated. I didn't know that, the exact number of PSIs and all of this stuff. I apologize. You don't need to bother them. Just, can you work with me here? Goodell might have gave him 2 games instead of 4, and that would have been it. But instead, he dragged this on for years and years and years. I blame Tom Brady for that. Having said all of that, that's for me to say as a pundit, okay, as a commentator, as a journalist. If you are Carson Palmer, who's never been in the Super Bowl, let alone won a Super Bowl, who on your best day ain't Tom Brady, somebody you should not only be looking up to with respect, you should revere, because he is everything that everybody in Arizona, just like everyone in Cincinnati used to feel, he is everything we all wish you should be, okay, that you should wish you should be. You don't say something like this. You really, really don't. I thought Carson Palmer should have just chilled, kept his mouth shut. He had no business commenting on this. That's what I think.
As usual, might makes right for Stephen A. Smith. Because Brady's more of a baller than Carson Palmer should keep his mouth shut.
It's none of your business.
I don't know how they do it. Hey, Brick, I don't know how you gangsters do it, corrupting the judicial process. Your advice to Tom Brady is literally, go corrupt the judicial process here. Go get cozy with the commissioner.
I like the patio.
And try to persuade him to lessen the punishment. Well, guess what? Someone like Carson Palmer, though I also think maybe it's best not to say anything.
Oh, so you agree with me. Go ahead. Keep going.
I don't. Whatever you want.
However, someone like Carson Palmer Really what this comes down to is, do you think Tom Brady did it, yes or no? And Carson Palmer here is saying implicitly, I think he did it. And not only that, that there was a process. Now, it wasn't like in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt. It was just that more likely than not, he did it. And that's good enough for Carson Palmer. He feels, maybe correctly, that he has the moral high ground here. From that moral high ground, if you're playing by the rules and someone else isn't, you have the position to point the finger and say, you cheated and now you're being punished.
You know what the weak element is in all of this that you're leaving out?
What?
They play New England this weekend. But you're going up against Jimmy Garoppolo. You see what I'm trying to say? So Tom Brady's stuck at home.
Makes it so good.
And here you
Carson,
come
it's your year,
sticking
baby.
out. Here you come sticking out your chest. If Tom Brady was across that sideline and you had to worry about him this weekend, would you have brought that up? I'm just curious, Max, because I feel you. I get where you're coming from. You get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
But I'm asking you a question.
Yeah.
You know, as somebody who covers a pugilistic sport, the voice of boxing, as we all know, you and the great Jim Lampley, you know as well as it's almost the equivalent of talking about a fighter you have no intentions of fighting. You see what I'm saying? You want to chirp and talk, but you ain't never planning on getting in the ring with him.
Triple G is fighting this weekend in England because everyone who was supposed to fight him wouldn't fight him. Kell Brook had to move up and fight him.
Kell Brook had to move up from the welterweight division, 2 weight classes
Everyone's
to
talking.
fight Triple G
No one's signing.
because everybody told Canelo Alvarez going to invite Triple G into the ring and then turn around and not fight him after talking about we don't run from, we ain't scared of anybody. I can't repeat the words he said, but we're not scared of anybody, but blah, 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 and then don't fight him. This is the equivalent of that. You Carson Palmer, you chirping, but Tom Brady's going to be back home in Foxborough.
It is kind of
you are going up against Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, people are saying he's like the new Tony Romo.
Oh, come on.
It is kind of like
come on.
It is kind of like tugging on
Jimmy
Superman's
G.
cape.
You see what I'm saying?
If Lex Luthor has Superman all tied up
Guys,
in
maybe
tonight,
people are just asking him about it because that's who they're playing, and he's just answering.
Listen.
He's speaking truth like we do on the show.
Well, that's very, very nice of you to say, Molly. So beautiful of you to say, so eloquent. But here's the deal. It's really, really interesting how everyone wants to lean on you were asked a question, so you're just answering. There are plenty of people who are asked questions every day, and there's certain things that you just don't touch on because it's none of your business. This guy is going up against the New England Patriots this Sunday night. I like Carson Palmer. He did a choke job in the playoffs. He was horrible in the NFC Championship game. But the bottom line is he had a pretty damn good season. I respect his skills. I respect his abilities. And I respect their team. I like those guys. Patterson, the Honey Badger, the whole crew. I love them. But here's the deal. How you going to sit up there and talk about Tom Brady when you know good and damn well you don't have to play against Tom Brady this weekend? It would have been bad enough if he wasn't on the schedule. They are on the schedule.
Well, that's why he's being asked about it.
I'm talking about his words. You know you going up against New England, but you don't have to worry about Tom Brady.
Well, but that's the reason you answer that way. Oh, what do you think about Tom Brady's suspension? In other words, you don't have to play him right now. And Carson Palmer's like, look, I got to play who's on the other side of the field. I can't choose. If someone breaks the rules and they're not there, what do you want me to do about it?
No, but you know what I'm saying. If you are going up against somebody, yes, you have to go up against New England's defense. Fair enough. But the flip side to it is that you're a quarterback. You usually get measured against the opposing individual at your position. And Tom Brady has a history of making elite people look like fools. So what would he do to Carson Palmer in terms of his performance, no matter who he's going up against, because he's that big time?
What we'll say about Carson Palmer. Carson Palmer was prematurely anointed the next great quarterback out of college.
We agree
it was
there.
Like Brady and Peyton, and here comes Carson Palmer, and he got hurt. It didn't exactly work out that way, and he's now on an excellent, well-balanced team, maybe the best balanced team in the NFL, partly because of his presence. But he choked, there's no other way to put it, in the playoffs, and that has him looking weak to some people, I think including you right now. And so you don't like the fact that he's speaking the truth about Tom Brady because he just choked in the playoffs. Now, I'll also say this. In terms of deflating the football, I remember when the Mitchell report came out, I wanted to come out with
Mitchell Report baseball.
Baseball
The 103
steroid scandal, right?
Came out in 2009, but it was about players in 2003.
Right.
Go ahead.
I remember when that came out, I wanted to come out with the Kellerman report. Here are the players who need to be on the steroids, right? The sorry players. They need to jump on the juice. And Carson Palmer needs to do something in the moment of truth to get him to perform as he normally does. This, however, is game 1 of the regular season. This ain't the playoffs. They're coming into it with microphones. What do you think about this whole situation? And he's like, look, I play by the rules.
Yeah.
This guy didn't.
Let's also make sure that whether it's SportsCenter, it's us and others, we made sure to blow up the photo of Tom Brady talking to Odell Beckham Jr., exchanging jerseys, signatures, stuff like that. Why? Because the profound respect that you have for a 4-time Super Bowl champion, particularly from a young guy, resonates. Carson Palmer is not a young guy. He's been around quite some times. He knows how difficult it is to succeed at this level. And Tom Brady has done it over and over and over again. So for him to make the quotes, I'm not casting aspersions on Carson Palmer, the person. I don't know him personally, and I think that he's a good football player. All I'm saying is that it's like, damn. You know, talk about kicking the dude when he's down. Tom Brady is not going to be playing there this weekend against you guys. There's a lot of people that have been asked about Tom Brady. There's a lot of football players that could have said something about Tom Brady. For Carson Palmer to open his mouth and basically remind us all that, you know what, I think he's guilty. A few of us think he's guilty. You could have avoided doing that is all I'm trying to say.
Well, let's put it this way. Better ball now.
Maybe I should pick the Cardinals for our Eliminator Challenge. That's another good one.
Who knows what you...
After the break, though, I'm just going to win. That's all we know. That's the lock.
Flip-flopper.
Oh,
I
goodbye.
can tell you that.
Art Briles' comments on his firing in the Baylor scandal. How do Max and Stephen A. feel about it? Find out next. I do not flip-flop. Meanwhile, former Baylor head football coach Art Briles sat down with our Tom Rinaldi in his first television interview since being fired by the school. Here is a clip from that interview.
I made mistakes. I did wrong. But I'm not doing this, you know, trying to make myself, you know, feel better for apologizing. I understand I made some mistakes. There were some bad things that happened under my watch. I was the captain of the ship. The captain of the ship goes down with it. You know, so I understand that I've made some mistakes. And for that, I'm sorry, you know. But I'm not trying to plead for people's sympathy. I'm just stating that, hey, I made some mistakes. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get better.
The whole Briles interview will air on Saturday on College Game Day. Stephen A., do you believe him?
Not really. If Art Briles and his family were watching right now, here's what I would like to say. To me, Art Briles is not the one who should be treated as if he is on trial for the transgressions of his players. Sexual assault, one dude was sentenced to 20 years, some of the most heinous, despicable acts you can imagine against women. Players in his program did. They are ultimately culpable for their actions. They're not children. They were young men. They knew better. They did wrong anyway. The believability factor or lack thereof that I'm attaching to Art Briles doesn't involve that. What it involves is that this stuff had been going on periodically with different players for years. It was all under your watch. You knew to some degree, at least, about it. You knew that there was a dereliction of duty. You performed in your part in terms of dealing with it aggressively, which in a different regard, as it pertains to Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky, we could say the same thing. You knew it. There was a dereliction of duty in terms of putting forth your due diligence to remedy the situation, how it was affecting your program. And then here we are with an interview that is going to air on College Game Day with Tom Rinaldi this Saturday, September, what is it, 9th, 10th?
8th.
Okay, 8th, I'm sorry. Really? This has been going on for quite some time. We've never heard Art Briles like this. It's almost one of those things, Max, where it's so easy and so simple to simply say, damn, I dropped the ball. I should have done more. I could have done more. I really messed up in terms of how I handled it as a leader. No problem. But this resistance towards standing up and acknowledging as a leader how short you came up in all of this for so long until you clearly are politicking for another job is what resonates with me. Art Briles has been on this show in the past, Max, and he seemed to be a very nice man. He's a damn good football coach. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he succeeded Jason Garrett in Dallas because we know how much Jerry Jones loves him. But really, you're a leader of young men. And all you had to do was come out front and center. Look, you wasn't the one who sexually assaulted somebody. I got to get rid of this dude. I just found out about it. He's got to go. I apologize. And it's taken him so long to do that I don't attach but so much sincerity because of that, because of the procrastination in which he exercised in doing this interview with Tom Rinaldi and owning up to what he didn't do.
This is pure conjecture on my part. I'm just telling you how it comes across to me. Comes across to me that there must have been people around Art Briles saying, look, you want to coach again, you have to apologize. And he seemed to be resistant to that because he felt he hadn't done wrong. In fact, he'd said so in the past. And finally, someone got through to him, it seems, or he heard the message just, generally that if I want to coach again, I'm going to have to do a mea culpa. So he figured out a way here to apologize in a way that he could live with. He has to live with himself. That's an admirable trait. I'm not going to do something I don't really believe. A captain should go down with his ship. I could even hear him saying this to himself. Okay, that's true. I am the captain of the ship. Bad things happened under my watch. I could apologize for that. Yeah, I could live with myself and apologize for that. And so he says it, but the way it came off is too little, too late. I would have liked to hear if it was a sincere apology that understood the kind of message that I think people want him to hear. I would have liked to hear something a little more soul-searching, like, for example, ideally, something like, look, I never thought that I was contributing to a culture that was permissive in this way, but obviously this was going on for a long period of time under my watch. I have to examine the kind of culture that I created where apparently some felt that this was permissible behavior and that they could get away with it. I would have liked to hear something more like that because to me that would have been more of an authentic internalizing of the message that he doesn't seem to be hearing. This seems to be more calculated. Look, if you want to coach, you got to apologize. Okay, how can I give a sincere apology where I can still look myself in the mirror and feel like I haven't sold myself out?
Rather than just standing up and owning up to whatever it is you fell short of as a leader. Now, listen, we're talking about sexual assault. We're talking about other things. These are crimes against women by football players for this program. Molly, I would like to hear from you. You heard what we had to say about Art Briles. What are your thoughts?
What I would love him to do is, obviously, you make a mistake and you have to own up to it. That's all you can do. Whether it's sincere or not, I can't tell because I don't know the man. But what I really would have loved him to see is put his money where his mouth is and in some way say, I'm going to work with the victims. I've learned all about this now. This happened under my watch. So here's what I'm going to do to kind of eradicate what I allowed that happen. And I think that would have really showed the public, like, wow, okay, this guy gets it. And now he's going to try to make a difference because of what he allowed.
As a woman, when you hear, because again, he's not guilty of sexual assault. When you hear...
He turned a blind eye to it, though. So to me...
I'm trying to ask a question. What I'm saying is he's not guilty of sexual assault. So what I am asking you is, because he's not the one who's actually guilty, it was the players. When you talk about what you want to see from him, I know that you're talking about his, making a contribution, doing something along those lines. But what would you have liked to see him do? When would you have liked to have seen him do it? Are we wrong by pointing out how procrastinated he has appeared in all of this?
The first time that some incident happened with one of his football players and a female on campus, I would have liked him to address it differently and then dead it right then and not allow this to continue to happen repeatedly over and over. And because he did, at least take it a step further and at least look a little more involved than just a little like, I'm sorry, to appear to just get another job again.
And to Steven's point, which I think ties into yours, I think it's directly proportional. The more you procrastinate before you hear the message that you got to own it, maybe the larger, at the very least, the gesture has to be to show your sincerity in combating the culture that you helped, you know, at the permissive culture that you contributed
Because
to.
based on what both of y'all are saying and what I'm saying, I got to admit to you, I have no problem with him coaching in the NFL. But do I want him to head a college program with kids? I don't know about that.
He hasn't
I don't
shown
know.
us that
I'm
he's
not saying
capable
no.
of,
I'm not saying no. I'm saying
leading
I don't
men.
know. You got to be a leader. In college, you got to be a leader of young men. In professional, you can sit there and say, you're a grown man, you get this check, you're accountable. But in college, you are the program. And I don't know if he can be trusted to do that, considering how difficult it is for him to just say, hey, I dropped the ball.
Agreed. When we come back, after leaving the Redskins this offseason under less than ideal terms, RG3 joins the Browns and gets a high honor before their season opener. We'll tell you what that is when First Take returns.
First Take is presented by Bass Pro Shops. Your adventure starts here. And in part by Sully, the untold story behind the Miracle on the Hudson, in theaters tomorrow. And PlayStation Vue, live TV, no annual contract, and no surprise fees.
You don't want to miss tomorrow's show. Stephen A. has a huge announcement for our First Take fans. Listen, people, this one, it's a game changer. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern right here on ESPN.
I'm really getting an attitude with people here at First Take. Why do they keep showing these photos when I got a little belly? I've lost 12 pounds.
Right now.
You might have been carrying around that belly for a while.
I'm just saying. I mean, damn, take a current photo.
Like 3 years?
I mean,
that photo right there is more than 2-3 years old.
Guess what? I have a great idea. Why don't we take new headshots? Because I'd like a new one myself. How about that?
You don't need it.
Could we get a photographer?
We need help. I mean, come on.
The Browns announced on Wednesday that RG3 was voted by his teammates as one of the team's captains. After the announcement, Hugh Jackson was asked if he rigged the voting. Wow.
They're 100% accurate. They're that one almost went over my head. Donald Trump, Hugh Trump, no. We didn't do that. I looked at them. I did. I was a little surprised. I'll be very honest with you. I was surprised because obviously Robert hadn't been here very long, you know, and we haven't played a real football game yet. So for him to be voted captain, I mean, it's he should feel good about that. His teammates feel good about him. But no, we didn't rig that by no stretch of the imagination.
Stephen A., your thoughts on RG3 being the El Captain?
First of all, I wouldn't put it past the Browns to have rigged it, okay? I don't think it would be necessary. Let me finish. Let me go. I wouldn't put it past them to have rigged it because guess what? If it were me, I would have. Here's why. Because that team needs to believe in RG3, and they need everybody to believe that folks are in that locker room believing in RG3. RG3 has been through a lot. I do not think it was rigged. I just think I wouldn't put it past anybody for wanting this desperately to happen. Not because of his ability, Max, but because of all that he's been through. We need to reflect for a moment. RG3 has been through a lot. I can't say this enough. Do y'all have any idea what it feels like to be on a team, to be the franchise guy, to be the star, and to the point where inside of 2 years, you are on that bench and they won't even allow you to wear a uniform? That was RG3 last year. So it's important that he got this captain's title.
Once again, you want to rig voting? You wanted to rig the judicial process before?
No.
It's amazing that I can win every debate even though you try to rig this show.
Please.
Seriously, I think this shows that RG3 has matured as a player and person in the NFL. I do believe that his teammates like him, based on all the, the comments you hear and the way from him and teammates in the preseason. He was humbled isn't exactly the right word, because you would think he still remains confident in order for his teammates to have this kind of confidence in him. But he was one of the rare players who, for a short time, no one can do it forever, but for a short time in the NFL, was able to impose himself physically on the game. Eventually, they adjust. There are too many great athletes, too many great, smart athletes. You can't do it forever. And they adjusted to him, and then he was dealing with the injury. I think he's a fully or a much more mature player now, and I expect the Browns to surprise people. I think they're going to be better than people expect.
You're taking them in the Eliminator Challenge. We're tuning up the competition here. Yes, it's the First Take Eliminator Challenge. Here are the rules, people. Each week this NFL season, Max, Stephen A, and I will pick our lock of the week, our team we think that will definitely win the matchup. If you choose correctly, you move on to the next week. If you are wrong, you are eliminated from the season-long competition. The catch is that once you choose a team, you cannot pick that team again. So let's kick things off with Week 1 and ESPN.com's Eliminator Challenge. You are going with Max Kellerman.
It's a great schedule, by the way, because a lot of evenly matched good matchups.
Great
Dolphins
schedule,
at Seattle. I like Seattle at home as a lock.
What about you, Molly?
I'm going Seattle at home, too. He actually copied me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Who knows with you, Molly?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Oh.
You know what I'm rolling with as my lock for the week?
Who?
I'm rolling with the Kansas City Chiefs at home over the San Diego Chargers. It's in Kansas
Risky.
City, and it's a 1 o'clock game. They're out west.
Yeah.
That's 10 in the morning to them. They're losing this game. Kansas City's winning this game.
Arrowhead's
I'm going with
tough
Kansas
to play,
City
but
and
Seattle
Arrowhead.
is so tough to play.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's
look,
Miami.
The
There's nothing to think about.
Dolphins will be improved, but look at some of these other matchups, really evenly matched, and Seattle is good enough.
I could have went Colts too. That was
I actually could have gone
too.
Browns over Eagles at Philly. I think
smart.
that's
You weren't
little.
bold enough. I wish you
smoking
did.
something.
Change it, bye.
I think